Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of A Healthy Dose of Fran. Today the Avatar returns in the form of a book review because everything changed when FCE attacked my feelings. And let's just say I've got a lot of thoughts and feelings in general about this book, so let's get on with this review because today I'll be talking about the Rise of Kyoshi. To start off with, I want to give huge props to FCE for the fantastic world building, storytelling and characters in this story. The characters especially for me was what sold this book for me. For me, and you know this from my channel predominantly, characters and character relationships are everything. And there are so many dynamic relationships in this book that I was just drawn into the relationship between them all, especially between Kyoshi, Rangi and Yun. Now their relationship as a trio really only kind of stays there in the first section of the book, up until the point that Kyoshi is found to be the Avatar. Because what's interesting with this story, and I actually saw a little bit of this in the fan-made comic graphic novel Legend of Genji, is that Avatar Kyoshi was not considered to be the Avatar at the start. In fact, a boy named Yun was considered to be the Avatar. Kyoshi just ended up becoming his servant, or at least the servant of the household in which he was staying, which was Master Jianzhu, who is the companion of the previous Avatar, Karuk. Now Kyoshi became a member of this household mainly because Kelsang, the most amazing airbender, sorry Aang, in this story, because he is so compassionate and kind, and I just love him so much. And him as a character and his relationship with Kyoshi, there are certain points in this story, and I'm not gonna say them because I don't want to bring too many spoilers in this. Their relationship and how certain aspects of it went. I'm just going to say that I have cried a lot during this book, which is embarrassing because I read it a lot on the bus, so you get some weird looks, especially here in the UK when you cry on a bus. But anyway, their relationship is very much a father-daughter relationship really, and especially considering he is the only father figure that she has had. It just brings a deeper understanding and love to their relationship, and it works so well for me. But going back to the trio of Rangi, Kyoshi and Yun. So Yun is the Earth Avatar, or at least that's what they think at the start. And then we have Rangi, his firebending bodyguard, who, oh, I love her so much. I'm just going to put that out there. Again, I'm just going to go back to giving props to FCE. So in Legend of Korra Turf Wars Part 1, I think it was, Kaya confirms that Kyoshi was bisexual. And FCE continued that trend because Kyoshi is the biggest useless bisexual I've ever seen. And I just love it. Not only is there a relationship between her and Yun, nothing ever actually happens, but there is something there, and it's so sweet and awkward, and I just love it. But her relationship with Rangi, oh my god, is all I've got to say. I'm not going to give too much away about it, but not only have I cried, laughed, squealed, and just needed to put the book down to take a minute, I just love it so much. I think I'm just going to bring up again, the relationships in this book are everything. Even the relationship with the villain. And there are quite a few villains that pop up in this, but there is one overarching villain, and that is Jianzhu, because he is all about power, to the point that when he learns that Kyoshi is the Avatar, he won't let anything stand in his way, including Yun. Now I'm not going to say anything else about that, but Jianzhu is probably one of the darkest characters, and it reminds me a little bit like Zahir in Legend of Korra. Now, I won't talk too much about him, but I like that we get this dynamic and we get to see from his perspective, because we jump to different perspectives in this story, predominantly with Kyoshi and Jianzhu, but we also have a chapter on Yun as well. And I quite like that we're seeing them from two different sides. And kind of seeing Jianzhu justifying a little bit his actions, which, as everyone knows, I love when you can understand the villain. But I think what is the most interesting about this, other than the character relationships, is the continued world building of Avatar. Not only are we introduced to new spirits, we're also introduced to new enemies and new dangers in this world, including a completely different community from what we know from Avatar, because we don't know anything about this in Avatar. It's something that was predominantly during the time of Kyoshi, and that is the Dao Fei, a basically criminal underground which is all about either for themselves and their community, and they are basically completely against the law. They hate the law, they hate law abiders. And Kyoshi's parents are the leaders of one of these groups, also known as the Flying Opera Company. Now, you'd think they would be the villains in this, and admittedly, a part of them do become villains near the end, but the Flying Opera Company become part of Team Avatar, and I love them all so much. The Waterbender, Karima, Earthbender, Lek, and Wong, and Lao Ge. And they form a sort of bond in terms of working for each other. And then Kyoshi goes on to join the Brotherhood by signing up to follow the code. And while Rangi doesn't agree with it, she understands the reasoning behind it. And this is where we get the questions answered as to where the makeup and the headdress and all of those things that is very Kyoshi come from. And that is the Flying Opera Company and her mother. So in the Flying Opera Company, when going on a job, they would paint their faces so that they could not be recognised if the law came looking for them, because no one would be able to identify them. Now, when they are going to do a job, Wong decides to give Kyoshi the same style of makeup that her mother would have used, which is the white face, the red paint and the black eyebrows. And then Karima gives her her mother's headdress to wear. And I love that we have this connection to it. Not only does it build on Kyoshi's character of holding her past and using it as a weapon, but even more interesting, the fans, which also belong to her mother, for some reason help her to control her bending. Now, I'm hoping we get a little bit more exploration of this in the next book, which I can't believe I've got to wait a year for. I kind of want it now, but I will be patient, probably. But I would love a bit more exploration as to why the fans do help her control her bending more. Is it that she feels connected to her mother? Is it that it is her connection to the Flying Opera Company, who have become a sort of merry little band of a family for her? Whatever the case, I would love to know, because it's an interesting thing that for some reason helps her control her powers. But moving on from that, later we also learn the reason why she wears gloves, and that is after a lightning strike attack. And I'm going to talk about more lightning stuff, not in this video but at another point, because I've got some opinions about that too. But anyway, we learn the reason why she gets the glove is because of a lightning attack which burned and scorched her hands, so she has to wear these gloves to kind of keep them protected. And just having those questions answered, and even the questions relating to why the firebenders are all about their hair, and how a ponytail and the sharpness of a hairstyle relates to their honour. And oh my, I am going to do a video about this because it is fascinating. But there's just, oh my god, Yi, FC Yi, I goddamn love you, man. There's just so much in this book, and it's just fantastic. This book is amazing. Not only does it build on the world of Avatar, introducing new gangs and wars and politics and philosophies in the world, and I'm literally going to do a video on Yang Chen because she is even more of a badass than I thought she was, and I'm going to talk about that. Not only did we end on a cliffhanger and a story about Karuk, which, okay, for everyone who says that Korra is the worst Avatar, read this book because you will know that Karuk is the worst Avatar. But moving on from that, everything about this book not only connects well to the Avatar universe. You can read certain bits and think, oh, this is what happens in Avatar. Oh, this is what happens in Legend of Korra. Oh, this is what leads to the events with Avatar Roku. Just everything kind of connects, and you can see all these little connective points, and it's just well researched, well written. World building is incredible. The character dynamics and relationships, everyone connects to each other in some way, and it flows, it works, and I just need the next book now. Oh my goodness. To conclude on my thoughts on the Rise of Kyoshi by FC Yi, I've got to give this book a 10 out of 10, and I've never given anything a 10 out of 10 before, but Rise of Kyoshi is totally worth it. Not only, firstly, this cover is incredible, but just the story and the characters and everything in it. Some of the fan art that we've seen as well is just incredible. I'm going to link some of it in the description box just because it's just gorgeous. And just everything about it just not only gave me nostalgia for the original story, but wants me to, I want to learn more about the other avatars. I want a story about Avatar Yang Chen. I kind of want to know a bit more about Karuk, and from how this book ends, I think we will learn a bit more about him in the next book. But the world building, the characters, the story, everything about this was just incredible. So if you haven't gotten FCE's The Rise of Kyoshi, go buy it now. I will link it to places in the description box. Just go and buy it. It is 100% worth it. But what about you guys? Did you enjoy Rise of Kyoshi? If you did, what was your favourite point and who is your favourite character? For me, it's definitely a bit of a cross between Kyoshi, Rangi and Karima. Mainly just because of this one particular scene with Karima that reflects on Kyoshi and Rangi. And if anyone who has read the book, you probably know exactly what scene I'm talking about. I've never laughed so hard in my life after reading that scene. In general guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you go to the description box down below, find the links to my Instagram and Patreon, where on Patreon there are now 5 tiers of access available that include such things as early access, poll involvement, future say, and a personalised video message from yours truly. So go check that out. But if you can't support me on Patreon, that's okay, I can always do with another subscriber. So go to the button down below and click subscribe, or click the one popping up here on screen. If you want to check out any of my previous Avatar videos, the playlist will be popping up here, and then something else for you beautiful people will be popping up here. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.